Where this is a plan development, so it has to come through here. I joke.
Hey, Jeff.
You ready? Good evening, welcome. This is the Marion City Council meeting for Thursday, July 22nd, 2021. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Nice to have everyone back in the same room and have guests and members of the public with us. We'll do the roll call.
Mr. Harper,
Here.
Mr. Jensen,
Here.
Ms. Atkins, here, Mayor Abu Osley,
Here.
Mr. Brandt,
Here.
Ms. Gedalia, here, Mr. Sterned.
Here.
Thank you. This time we'll have a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, first on our agenda this evening is a proclamation that I've asked the Mayor Pro Tem to present. It's a proclamation regarding National Disability Independence Day. And Kent, are you here to accept the proclamation? So we have the Chair of the Civil Rights Commission here to accept it. So could you come forward?
Hi, Kent. How are you? Hey. Whereas the Americans with Disabilities Act was signed into law on July 26, 1990 by President George H.W. Bush and served as the nation's first comprehensive law prohibiting discrimination against persons with disabilities and guaranteeing them the same opportunities as everyone else. And whereas the ADA was enacted to remove barriers faced every day by persons with disabilities and addressed issues related to their mobility and safety in public spaces. And whereas the ADA provides protections for persons with disabilities from employment discrimination, as well as better access to goods and services, including Braille alternatives for the visually impaired and closed captioning for the hearing impaired. And whereas the ADA has helped millions of Americans with disabilities achieve better lives and equal treatment. And whereas National Disability Independence Day not only celebrates the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act, but also recognizes the importance of the independence of persons with disabilities and honors their accomplishments and contributions to our nation and city. Now, therefore, I, Colette Atkins, on behalf of Nicholas Abu Osley, Mayor of the City of Marion, do hereby proclaim July 26, 2021 as National Disability Independence Day. Thank you. Yeah, you got it.
You might step over here to get a picture.
Let's have a picture.
All right, there you go.
Thank you. Oh, you want to?
Got it?
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Kent. Thanks, Colette. Okay, next on our agenda is a public forum, which is a time which is set aside for comments from members of the public on any item that is listed on the agenda but not associated with a public hearing. If we have anyone here to address the council on any item which is on the agenda but not part of a public hearing, this would be the time to do so. There will be a time at the end of the meeting for other comments from members of the public. Do we have anyone who's here to address the council under this section? And are we still taking comments outside the meeting?
They could
City Clerk?
email me ahead of the meeting, but I have not received any comments.
Very good. Then we'll move on with the consent agenda.
Yes, Your Honor, I move to approve the consent agenda as follows. This will be items A1 through F1 and F3 through F6. This will include resolutions 29276 through 29278. I'm sorry, I strike that. That'll be resolutions number 29712 through 29276 and 29278 through 29731.
Second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda, including items A1 through F6 and 29712 through 297. Did we skip one?
Yes, Your Honor, we're pulling F2 from the consent calendar.
Okay, wasn't aware of that. Okay, so through 29726 and 29728 through 29731.
You have to do the grants,
What's that?
because the mayor has to abstain. You have to.
They want the other.
That's just the one.
Gotcha.
Well, it's,
Yes, I think
that's on the next agenda.
Can we strike that?
Well, ask the city attorney. I think he intended to move to accept it as, to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Yeah, let's just do a motion to amend that previous motion.
Okay, did we have a second already?
Yes. It wasn't-
Okay. Yeah, so anyone want to amend it to include that other item?
So I'll make a motion to amend
Yes.
to, let me see, to amend the consent agenda to include items A1 through F6, resolutions 29712 through 29731.
Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to amend the motion so that the consent agenda approved includes items A1 through F6 and 29712 through 29731. Discussion on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay, the motion is now amended so that the motion is to approve the consent agenda as presented, items A1 through F6 through 29712, resolutions 29712 through 29731. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved. For the next section, I will turn over the gavel to the Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve items B1 through F1, resolutions 29732 to 29736.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda with Mayor Abu-Asli's abstention. Items B1 through F1, resolutions 29732 through 29736. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved. For the next item F2, I'm actually going to pass the gavel over to Steve, Deputy Mayor, as if there's because I have a potential conflict of interest as well. So it's all you, Steve.
Thank you.
Yes, Deputy Mayor, Pro Tem, I move to approve resolution number 29737, setting the date of August 5, 2021 for a public hearing regarding a request for approval of a preliminary and final site development plan for Smoothie King at the northwest corner of 62nd Street and Carlson Way.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve resolution number 29737. Any comments or discussion? Renee?
Yes, as I stated on Tuesday, I have great concerns about the drive-through, the queuing, and what will happen if, a handful of cars or more, which I think will be the case, go there. I think we're gonna run into the same situation we had at Duncan that took a long time to fix, and that's better, but I feel like we can get ahead of this. And so even though this is just setting the date, I would rather give the developer time to make the fix if this by majority doesn't pass. And so I would try to stop it in its tracks now. I would also point out that the planning and zoning staff also concurred that this was problematic and did not recommend approval at the P&Z Commission, even though it got passed there. I think that that's worth pointing out. Thanks.
Randy?
Steve, thank you. I'm going to concur with that one as well too. I witnessed the problematic issues that we run into with our other retailer. Even though this is setting a public hearing moving forward, I am not a believer in moving things, trying to find a resolution and putting that energy into it until we can find a comfortable resolution with trying to fix that problem as well too. I just witnessed way too many accidents that I just can't support this. We're getting, in my opinion, we're getting too many drive-throughs because that's our culture today. We all know that. More people are eating and drinking in their vehicles, and when the business can't support that traffic through to keep cars off of the public right-of-ways and in the streets, it becomes problematic. So I as well too will be a no on this one, but thank you.
Grant?
Yeah, thank you. Although I was absent for the work session on Tuesday, I did go back and listen to the discussion that was recorded. And I share the same concern. I guess a question that I might have at this point, Tom, is there anybody that has any insights to a means to rectify the concerns that are being expressed here, or is it that discussion hasn't been held with the developer?
During the meeting, there was a lot of conversation about different ways to handle the situation. Ultimately, the conversation led to, as the stacking would occur adjacent to the building, they could stack west instead of east, meaning they would stack towards the apartment building and towards the hotel, and indicate that on the site plan. And ultimately, the problem with that is we're going to do what we want to do when you're in your car waiting in a drive-through. So regardless of how it's situated on the site plan, it's really not how it's going to function. I just drove through Dunkin' Donuts. I picked the wrong night to do that, probably, right?
But it's been fixed, right?
Well, I think I
Kind
needed,
of.
I think I should have been given a t-shirt because I didn't knock one cone over trying to go through there at the drive-through. So ultimately, we mean, and staff did talk at length about the concerns we had. And so there wasn't any resolve at the meeting, and the developer didn't seem to be compelled to do anything as the commission asked questions and then ultimately voted for it. So from their perspective, moving it forward with a positive recommendation means they're going to move it forward. So that's why and we're obligated to bring back, the commission is appointed to provide a recommendation. So we're just bringing forward the commission's recommendation to the council. So, I think if there was, we could certainly reach out to the petitioner and ask if there's an alternative, but we've been pretty pointed about it in staff, and they got our recommendation before the meeting, and they continued on. So I don't suspect that they're going to change things as they move it to council, but that's just my opinion in the conversations that we've had with the representatives.
I guess what I'm hearing up here is the sentiment by the city council is a little different than the P&Z commission. I think again, I understand the comment about there are more drive-throughs. So we've had to deal with the issue at Dunkin' Donuts. I'll also bring up the situation with the freeze on 11th Street where they've added a drive-through. 3 cars can park in their driveway, and then I've seen cars backed up in 11th Street.
Mhm.
Okay, and 11th Street bothers me more than what it might be over here at Carlson Way. So, but still, yeah, I think it's, if we have an opportunity to eliminate a problem, you know, I think we should probably be taking that into consideration when we have the opportunity to do that. So, and I don't know what can be done. It was not, still not a good fix at Dunkin' Donuts. And so I don't know still what can be done about the freeze in places that are already in business. But in this situation, we do have, I guess the city council has the opportunity to make things the right way. So I would have your developer come to that meeting on August 5th and encourage them to present their thoughts and ideas.
I mean, we as staff can relay this conversation to
Okay.
them. But I would also say that, I mean, there's a reason that we have these preliminary site development plans. I mean, this is a prime example. Sometimes as we bring these plans forward and there may be minor tweaks, and I think sometimes the councils and the commission's like, well, it really wasn't here to change much, but we still hold a public hearing. And I think this is a prime example of why those work. I mean, it provides an opportunity for that second peak. You get a chance, the developer has their chance to make their case. Clearly, there's some issues here. And you're going to get a chance to weigh in on that and say yes or no at the public hearing if the council chooses to proceed with the public hearing. So, but if the hearing doesn't get set, I don't know
Yeah.
if the
can
hearing
I
doesn't
just-
get set,
Can I
right?
clarify something?
Go ahead, Renee.
So is it your recommendation that we should pass this to then have the opportunity to have the developer in front of us and give this feedback?
I mean, I think that's probably following the ordinance in the way that it's written. That would be how I think would giving their day in court per se,
Right.
as it relates to how it would proceed.
Yeah, I mean, just, for my part, and I'm sure everybody feels this way, I'm thrilled to have a Smoothie King. It's nothing on them. I just want to, as Steve said, while we have the opportunity to get ahead of something and reach higher for the citizens who live in the trailer park and the future citizens of the apartment building and the future businesses that are going to come in there and have to deal with this, I want to, have a good look at it and make sure it's right before it goes in there. Like you said, Tom, they can say what should happen for overflow, but people are going to do, I mean, there were signs over here forever telling people not to block the business driveways, and people don't care. So I will vote yes if you're recommending that that's the proper process. I don't want to take away someone's right to do something. My thought with stopping it now is just to not let things get too far to where they're like trying to rush and then they say they don't have time for a solution. But if this isn't going to take that away, then I'm perfectly happy to give them my thoughts on the 5th. So
Your Honor. Sorry, not to interrupt if Renee's not finished.
oh, I'm finished. Thanks.
I would just add that there's an additional option here. Staff could, council could direct staff to have that conversation with the developer so they know what to expect on the 5th.
Mhm.
And if they're still not ready at that point in time, a motion to table could always come up
Right.
so that you wouldn't have to necessarily vote down the proposal if they don't have a new one. But I think, as Tom mentioned, they would probably tell the developer, look, this was the conversation that happened at council, so you should be prepared for this. But I think that if you don't have that public hearing, then they also don't have any opportunity to come in and present any other options as well.
I think the public
sense.
hearing is warranted, given the situation of the difference of the opinion of P and Z versus city council.
Mhm.
I think we need to be looking at what this entire area is going to look like when it's built out. Because you're going to have all those apartment buildings, you're going to have 3 apartment buildings, the hotel. And so the traffic out there is certainly going to be different, in 3 years compared to what it is today. So that's the situation I think we're looking at. So the resolution, any more comments? Randy?
Yes, I'm sorry, just had a quick follow-up. Thank you. Tom, in the past, we've had models that we can follow. So in this particular case, when we take a look at these footprints, and it's specifically in the beverage deal. So whether it's now going to be smoothies, or it could be yogurts, or it could be coffees. What we're seeing is obviously the demand from the public, and you can almost set your watch on a Friday will be the worst day of the week and Tuesday will be the least. And like you said, stacking to the west out on Carlson Way is going to choke traffic trying to get back out on 151. I'm trying to exit this particular area. But what my question is do we have a model? So if we have a 900 square foot building that's going to be specifically like this for short orders out the doors, should there be a model that says they should be on X amount of square footage of property to accommodate, I hate to keep using the name of Dunkin' Donuts because they've been very gracious in trying to help us, but there's going to come a time when they're tired, the management's tired of setting these cones up every day because they're knocked over every morning. So until a brick wall is built, that's not a permanent solution to this problem. But, I guess all I'm asking is there a way to keep these small footprint properties only allowing 6 cars on the property at a time, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. I mean, I understand the business plans, right? It's low overhead, low cost, high profits. You move them in, you move them out. But it doesn't bode well for obviously the city from a planning standpoint for that type of model.
Correct. And many communities have a stacking requirement. So they may say that if you have a drive-through, you have to provide stacking for 8 vehicles or 12 or whatever that number is. What we don't have that in our code. We could adopt that and provide a provision for some leeway for that. I think it's probably the way to go, is a conditional use or some sort. But what you run into is there's so many different drive-throughs. A coffee shop, I would say a smoothie place. They're going to probably drive a higher demand than, oh gosh, I'm just trying to think of one that's not.
Pretzel store.
There you go. the pretzel
Or a
store.
bank,
Like-
or a bank.
or a bank, or so it's so variable. So we, like in this instance, and Dave put the staff report together, and we reached out to their national rep and said, what's your average? And I think they're still a little bit under, as I recall from the staff report. So that provides a little bit of leeway for them. But we did talk internally that I think that's where we probably need to go, just by virtue of the issues that we're seeing. We're also seeing redevelopment of properties where they want to put a drive-through in where there wasn't one. And so we're running into the same issues on property, and it just creates a problem. So
Sure, understood. Thank you very
but
much.
that's generally how they're handled. Is there's a required number of stacking provided on the site. Now, some retailers like Starbucks, for instance, they're not even going to go anywhere anymore unless they have that ability to stack. I mean, look at their queue lane on 7th Avenue, and it still wraps. I mean, so you can imagine if you just said everybody's got to have a 15-car stack, all of a sudden you've got a pretty extensive site plan for those. And maybe that's the case, that we just have to do that now because of the way we're moving in society. But I would hope there's a way to get that happy medium.
Sounds like a future discussion issue. We'll be happy to address. Grant, one more comment?
Yeah, and Tom, that, I think you hit on a key question. Smoothie King is a national business, franchise business.
Yes.
What's their experience elsewhere with this kind of situation? What kind of demand do they have at a location, and what are the typical stacking profiles that they have? I think that would be a very interesting thing for them to help us understand, because that may or may not partially alleviate our concern for this particular site.
Yeah, and we can get that information. I know there was some in the staff report, but I think it'll be helpful during the public hearing to provide that. They did make some accommodations. They moved one of their message, they had the boards kind of set up for the 2-window, and they moved it forward to provide more stacking. But the big concern at a staff level, and I know we're getting way deep into this now, is you have Prospect Meadows and baseball games get out, and you have 8 diamonds and teams coming and going. So you're going to get those big pushes. And you're going to have peak hour traffic. The MAC is putting a workout facility in the building to the west. you know, if they have a class at 8, gets done at 9, you know. So, you know, we see peak hour coming and, you know, that's just, anyway, that's the thought process that goes through our minds as we review the proposals.
Okay, so it certainly sounds like the public hearing is warranted and is needed. So the motion is out there to approve the resolution number 29737, setting the August 5th date, 2021 for a public hearing for the Smoothie King. Any more comments? All those in favor of approving resolution 29737, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. The resolution is approved. I'll move the meeting back to the mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. All right, we're on the regular agenda now, under administrative services.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 21-19, amending chapter 99, sections 99.02 and 99.04 of the Code of Ordinances relating to sewer service charges, connection fees. This is the second consideration.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the second consideration of ordinance number 21-19, amending chapter 99, section 99.02 and 99.04 of the Code of Ordinances relating to sewer service charges and connection fees. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Your Honor, I move to approve a hold harmless agreement with Renee Gedalia regarding a backyard gathering on July 31, 2021 at 3476 Barnsley Circle.
Second.
The moved and seconded to approve a hold harmless agreement with Renee Gadela regarding a backyard gathering on July 31st, 2021 at 3476 Barnsley Circle.
Definitely discussion.
Yes, go ahead.
If we plan to go to it, can we vote on it?
Any conflict?
If you are not being paid to attend, you don't have a financial interest.
Oh, apparently I'm not getting paid. Okay.
Okay.
We ask about the food and drink? then?
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor of approving the motion, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
I just wanted to note-
Congratulations.
Thank you. I was going to abstain. I just wanted to point out that I didn't vote on it.
So we have
I was
one,
waiting for the abstention.
so we have one abstention and the motion
Thank
is
you.
approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 29738, appointing Community Development Director Tom Trahern and as acting city manager and fire chief Deb Crable as acting city manager pro tem.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 29738, appointing Community Development Director Tom Trahern as acting city manager and fire chief Deb Crable as acting city manager pro tem. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 29739, approving change order 001 with Ahern Fire Protection regarding the Marion Library bid package 21A fire suppression regarding sprinkler layout in the amount of $2,407.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Gadela, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem to approve resolution number 29739, approving change order 001 with Ahern Fire Protection regarding the Marion Library bid package 21A fire suppression sprinkler layout in the amount of $2,407. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor of resolution 29739, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion's been approved.
Mayor, move to approve resolution number 29740, approving change order number 002 with Pearson Wall Systems regarding the Marion Library bid package 09A gypsum board and acoustics regarding changes to the second floor study rooms in the amount of $1,942.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 29740, approving change order 002 with Pearson Wall Systems for the Marion Library bid package 09A gypsum board and acoustics for changes to the second floor study rooms in the amount of $1,942. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor of resolution 29740, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion's been approved.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 29741, approving change order 002 with Ahern Fire Protection regarding the Marion Library bid package 21A fire suppression regarding moving the FDC in the amount of $12,837.00.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 29741, approving change order 002 with Ahern Fire Protection regarding Marion Library bid package 21A fire suppression regarding moving the FDC. What is FDC? In the amount of $12,837.
Fire department connection.
Okay, moving the fire department connection in the amount of $12,837. Thank you. Discussion. I didn't know that one. Okay, all those in favor of approving resolution number 29741, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion's been approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 29742, approving change order 002 with Acme Electric Company regarding the Marion Library project bid package 26A regarding electrical, regarding the moving the FDC in the amount of $789.
Second.
Too many regardings there.
Yes.
There's a lot in there, wasn't there?
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 29742, approving change order 002 with Acme Electrical Company for the Marion Library project bid package 26A regarding electrical, regarding the moving of the fire department connection in the amount of $789. Discussion.
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Thesaurus.com. That's it. Thesaurus.com.
Okay,
Oh, I see.
get that in the record. Any other discussion? All those in favor of approving resolution number 29742, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Your Honor, I move to approve change orders regarding the Marion Library project construction manager as advisor as follows. Resolutions 29743 through 29745.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve change orders regarding Marion Library project construction manager as advisor as follows. Resolution 29743 in the amount of $2,407, resolution 29744 in the amount of $6,020, and resolution number 29745 in the amount of $1,942. Discussion.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you. Just to clarify, are these all cost reductions?
So what I understand is these would be moving the amounts from the contingency amount and to pay for some of the change orders that were just approved.
Covers these three up above.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Other discussion or questions? Yes, Steve.
Yeah, I think in the future, it'd be nice to, maybe in the near future, to get an update on the library, how the project's moving along. For example, when we talk about the contingency reserve, how many more dollars are left in the reserve so that we can kind of monitor this as it's going along. So I don't think we've had what I would call a little more in-depth update on the library project
Been a
in
while.
quite a while. So if we can get one of those in the next month or so, I think that would be warranted.
The new director, I believe, starts on Monday, so we'll probably give him some time to get acclimated and then can be coming up soon.
Let's put that on his calendar. Thank you.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, that could be a good first opportunity to get him to the council. Any other discussion?
Especially if he has good news.
Yes, that's right, which I think it is
Yeah,
good news.
yeah.
Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 29746, approving change order number 001 with commercial flooring regarding the Marion Library project. Bid package 09B flooring regarding the change to the rubber flooring layout in the amount of $6,020.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 29746, approving change order 001 with commercial flooring for the Marion Library project bid package 09B flooring regarding the change to the rubber flooring layout in the amount of $6,020. Discussion. All those in favor of approving resolution number 29746, please say aye. All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved. For the next several items, I will turn over the meeting to Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor, I move to approve, or Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve resolution number 29747, approving contract and bond with Peterson Contractors, Inc. regarding the 10th Avenue Side Paths PCC Sidewalk Trail and the amount of $2,705,569.91.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 29747, approving contract and bond with Peterson Contractors Incorporated regarding the 10th Avenue Side Paths PCC Sidewalk Trail in the amount of $2,705,569.91. Discussion. Yes.
I just for one, would like to say how exciting this is to get this project brought to this level here. So giving our public a safe means of transporting themselves to that eastern part of the city there. This is very exciting. So congratulations to everyone working so hard to move this project forward. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved with one abstention.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve resolution number 29748, approving memorandum of agreement with Lux Air Aviation LLC regarding the Aircom Park Sanitary Sewer Extension Project.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 29748, approving memorandum of agreement with Lux Air Aviation LLC regarding the Aircom Park Sanitary Sewer Extension Project. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved with one abstention.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve resolution number 29749, approving memorandum of agreement with PNN Flight and Charter regarding the Aircom Park Sanitary Sewer Extension Project.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 29749, approving memorandum of agreement with PNN Flight and Charter regarding the Aircom Park Sanitary Sewer Extension Project. Discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved with one abstention.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve resolution number 29750, approving and adopting final plan specifications, notice of hearing and letting, notice to bidders, form of contract, and estimate of cost regarding the Marion Aircom Park sanitary sewer extension project.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 29750, approving and adopting final plans, specifications, notice of hearing and letting, notice to bidders, form of contract, and estimate of cost regarding the Marion Aircom Park sanitary sewer extension project. Discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved with one abstention.
Mayor's not back. Okay. Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve resolution number 29751, approving a request for 4 building permits prior to the approval of the Ridge at Indian Creek Second Edition final plat for property located north of Tower Terrace Road extended and east of Lucor Road, Bode Construction.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 29751, approving a request for 4 building permits prior to the approval of the Ridge at Indian Creek Second Edition final plat for property located north of Tower Terrace Road extended and east of Lucor Road, Abode Construction. Discussion. Yes, Grant.
Yeah, Tom, I think we've had a few items during my tenure about sort of the process and the sequence and the milestones in terms of all of the development activity. This one seems like we're accelerating that. And first off, I've got to tell you, I really like that development. I've seen that come to life. And as I walked around the area frequently. So my concern here, or my question, isn't relative to the quality of the development and its overall planning. It really is. Isn't this a little out of cycle in terms of the sequence, and therefore what's driving this particular resolution?
Sure, it's a very good question. Over the years, there's been a lot of questions relative to permits prior to final plat. As the council is aware, we usually try to final plat approval allows the lot to be created for the sale. In this instance, all the public improvements to that area are complete except for Tower Terrace Road. So this is Tower Terrace Road east of 35th. So we've been working with the developer. We've given them options. Really, when you final plat property, you're supposed to have all the public improvements in, or there's certain ways that you can assure to the city that they will go in. You can get a letter of credit, a bond, or provide cash for the improvement. Those are the 3 primary ones. Or you can make the improvements and then they're good to go. So there's 4. In this instance, the adjacent property owner has not been willing to really provide any easements for us to create the whole road. The developer would like the entire road to be in place. So they're really left with 2 options. One, they could put in half the road, which Mike hates. And it really isn't a great option, to be honest. You get a half road and it's just going to create some conflict out there. The other option, and the developer's not super excited about this, is providing cash in the amount of the road, which really isn't great for the city either, because we're going to accept cash based on the cost of the improvements today, but we're not going to get a road until we decide to build the road sometime in the future. So you can see where there may be an escalation in the cost, and the developer's building homes and the road's not being provided. And so there's they're not really excited about that option either. So we've been trying to get that easement in place and have the conversation. But at the last meeting, it was on the agenda. They really had the 2 options, and they just pulled it off because they really couldn't decide on how they wanted to proceed, whether they wanted to go ahead and build the half road, work with us, or provide the cash. In the interim, I reached out to the adjacent property owner and just was like, hey, I know we've had this conversation in the past. Hey, is there any way that we could get an easement and work together on an opportunity to get the road in? After that call, the indication was we may have that opportunity, and there was more details to it. But based on that, I went back and I said, hey, we understand that you got all the other improvements in, it's only Tower Terrace Road. So, rather than hold up the entire development and permitting, we've actually said, why don't you go ahead and get the permits prior to final plat, limited number, so that we can proceed to have a conversation about Tower Terrace Road. Because ultimately, we'd like to have the road in. So if we can move in that direction and give them the opportunity to move forward with a couple building permits, it's kind of a win-win for everybody.
Okay, yeah, just
Go ahead. Nope.
Just to follow up. So in that approach, what you're doing is the conflict or the impediment with the adjacent landowner is effectively being decoupled from the current construction that's going on. And this will allow then Abode to complete their construction in a unified manner with what's already out there.
Well, it would, if we could get the easement for the road, we'd have the opportunity to build the entire road. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm focused on what Abode is going to be enabled to do with this, and you're decoupling their requested activity from the easement acquisition for the road.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
I get it. Thanks.
And they would not be able to close, so this is it's going to be necessary that the final plat is approved before they finish the permits, because they won't be able to close on the property. So they're really in a situation where they can't transfer the property until the final plat's approved. So, they're operating on property that's not final platted, a lot that doesn't exist per se. You see this a lot of times in the fall, and the major concern we have generally when we do permits prior to final plat is that there are no public improvements in. Out here, you can drive down the street and you can see the lots. I think most of the utilities are probably set. So this looks like a completed subdivision with no homes in it out in this area, except for Tower Terrace Road. Where we get particularly concerned about this is when you don't have a street, you don't have any utilities, and there's not even rock, and the developer will come in the fall and say, hey, I want 4 permits to build over the winter, and they're 200 yards off the concrete, and fire department can't access this. There's a problem, there's criminal activity, we can't get a police car down there, and that's where the rub really gets. So this is a little bit different situation than the one that we've talked about in the past.
Thank you.
Sorry, that was probably long-winded.
That's okay. Steve.
Well, I mean, it sounds like there's still quite a bit of work to do relating to the Tower Terrace piece. So exactly where are these lots at compared to that intersection, the Cornhenge intersection?
So they would be the lots that are directly north of what would be the extension of Tower Terrace, east of Cornhenge.
East.
Yes.
So where's the access? Is the access off of Lucor or is the access off of Tower Terrace?
The
For these
access
4
would be
lots?
off Lucor.
It's off of Lucor. Okay.
Yes. Lucor's north of, yes.
Okay. And anybody else?
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay.
All those in favor, please say, all those in favor of resolution number 29751, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Okay, the motion is approved with 1 abstention, and I will now pass the meeting back to the mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 21-20, amending chapter 176.06, rules and definitions of the Marion Code of Ordinances. This is the second consideration.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 21-20, amending chapter 176.06, the rules and definitions of the Marion Code of Ordinances. Second consideration, discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Mayor, move to approve resolution number 29752, approving the library first edition final plat for property located south of 6th Avenue between 11th and 12th Street.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 29752, approving the library first edition final plat for the property south of 6th Avenue between 11th and 12th Streets. Discussion. All those in favor of approving resolution number 29752, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion has been approved.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 29753, approving the purchase of Outlot A, English Glen, second edition, located south of Penny Lane in the amount of $4,000.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 29753, approving purchase of Outlot A, English Glen, second edition, south of Penny Lane in the amount of $4,000. Discussion? All those in favor of resolution 29753, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 29754, approving an encroachment agreement with the Hipster regarding a portion of the alleyway bounded by 11th and 12th Streets and 7th and 8th Avenues for outdoor dining.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Moved by Councilmember Jensen, seconded by by Mayor Pro Tem Atkins to approve resolution number 29754, approving the encroachment agreement with the Hipster regarding a portion of the alleyway bounded by 11th and 12th Streets and 7th and 8th Avenues for outdoor dining. Discussion. All those in favor of approving resolution number 29754, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion's approved.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 29755, approving an encroachment agreement with What Do You Want Incorporated regarding adjacent 7th Avenue sidewalk at 1204 7th Avenue for outdoor dining.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 29755, approving the encroachment agreement with What Do You Want, Inc. for adjacent, regarding adjacent 7th Avenue sidewalk at 1204 7th Avenue for outdoor dining. Discussion. And for the public's knowledge, What Do You Want, Inc. is the Tomaso's building. Any discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 29755, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. Next on the agenda is a discussion regarding fireworks. Who will be leading us on this? Police chief?
I believe I got the first half and then Chief Crable's going to jump in.
Okay, the two chiefs, great.
So
Go ahead.
we were asked to get the statistics together, going back 5 or 6 years on the number of complaints we've got. Cedar Rapids citations, 2016, 17, and 18 were not available. They were trying to pull those up by hand and they couldn't get them to us in time, but that's kind of where it lays out. My recollection is in 2017 is when they approved the sale of fireworks in Iowa again. Our use initially followed the state code, but we amended, or you had amended the ordinance where they're just allowed on New Year's Eve and the 4th of July. The 4th of July, it's 11 a.m. or I'm sorry, noon to 11 p.m. and New Year's Eve, the hours are 6 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. Pretty consistent with the number of complaints we've had. Of course, this year we're only halfway through the year. Those will be per calendar year, the other years. So we're only partway through the year and we've got 144. The problem we have with the citations is it's not illegal to possess them, so we can't seize them. We can't charge anybody unless we see them light them. We do have a disorderly house ordinance that we could use if somebody continued to shoot them off from their driveway. Traditionally, when we're trying to enforce that disorderly house, we'll give a verbal warning first, a written warning before we go to a citation. That's just the way we've been doing it. We don't use that one often. We normally just use the state code when we catch people shooting them. Back in the day, before they were legal in Iowa, the officers could confiscate them, or they would generally tell the homeowner to go get a big bucket of water and we'd watch them dunk them into the water to to ruin them.
Okay, questions? Go ahead.
Could you define your disorderly house and what exactly that
so-
means and what it takes for somebody to have a disorderly house?
Yep. So there's disorderly house, the ordinance is 40.07. As used in this section, disorderly house or property means and includes any land, building, house, structure, enclosure, or place, including any adjacent yard or bare ground where riotous, noisy, or disorderly conduct or loud or unusual noises or loud, profane, or vulgar language or drunkenness, quarreling or fighting is engaged in, on, or permitted. So we could apply that to fireworks outside of the normal hours that fireworks are allowed,
Okay, only outside of the.
outside of the normal
approved
hours. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
I didn't have that memorized. I'm sorry when I read that.
oh, great, go ahead.
Chief, if you were to observe somebody in the process of utilizing fireworks when it is not permitted to do so, what would be roughly the potential fine that they would might be levied?
I believe under the state, it's either 125 or 225. It could be. And then again, that's up to a judge. So that goes from a citation. It's actually written on the state charge and submitted to the courts. It's not just like writing a ticket.
So I'm looking at the Cedar Rapids site, and since they have a complete ban within the city, on the Cedar Rapids site, they say Cedar Rapids police officers will cite individuals who are caught illegally discharging fireworks, and that's consistent with what you've said. The violation requires a court appearance with a fine up to $855. And I think the state code says 250. So that's consistent with what you were thinking.
Yes.
I think the biggest problem is we have set an expectation that fireworks can be utilized within a time box time frame. And the problem is that, at least as I've received resident complaints, is that people are, it goes on for many days before and after the 4th of July. So outside of our prescribed window. And so I guess I appreciate the celebration of freedom and what that has traditionally meant to all citizens. And I've really been full circle with this because of some of the complaints, and I've received, I've heard those tears over the phone. And people upset and concerned about their pets, concerned about their own well-being, concerned about those with PTSD and how they're reacting to it. I understand those concerns, but I also put that in balance with having a defined period of time that we can celebrate our nation's founding. And so I guess what I have been finding my thought to be predominantly is perhaps we need to state, if you are in fact observed to be lighting fireworks and doing so outside of the timeframes that we've specified, that there is going to be a relatively stiff citation that you're going to receive. Then they've been noticed. Then and recognizing that your hands are tied, you have to be there for to see the act in motion. I just think that we really need to be strenuous about the impact of a citation that we would levy, and that preserves the individual right to celebrate. That enhances the gravity of our ordinance relative to the specified timeframes. And it is responsive perhaps then to the concerns that have been, at least that I have received over time. And that is, it's not the 4th of July, it's June, whatever, and people are blasting them off. So I think it kind of touches on all three of those, or 3, 4, I lost count. I didn't have a coffee, Tom. it touches on those points and I think shows responsiveness on our part.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
Do we, and I share those same sentiments and the people I'm visiting with, and I think the bigger concern that I have as well too is more of these M80s, these louder items. Now, we can't, somebody correct me here, we can't isolate the particular firework, or can we? You know, the ones that are going up 100 feet and they're the sparkler type, they burst, the oohs and ahs, so to speak, but these little M80s that are being lit off in the back alleyways between buildings when they echo, they do sound like bombs. And I mean, are we throwing our noise ordinance levels out the window when we're allowing these to be permissible? Can anybody shed anything on
I
that?
think the state defines what a commercial firework is, and is it propellant and weight, I believe? Is that
Yes.
how they define it? I would be honest with you, I don't think any of our patrolmen would have the expertise to determine whether it's a legal firecracker or an M80.
No, and I
Yeah, I
was
know
just,
they make the ones that look like, you know, what you used to think an M80 looked like, that are actually just a regular charge, I suppose.
right. Okay, thank you. And again, too, we're all sharing the same concerns of the citizens that are put through under, unfortunately, the torture for those periods of hours that are permissible versus the ones that are obviously doing it illegal outside of the zones as well too. So thank you.
Before we take any further council comments, Chief Crable, did you have a part of this presentation you wanted to make too? I mean, I didn't mean to cut you off, but we started with questions and then it's just sort of gone on, but I want to make sure you have your opportunity to make your presentation. Then we can come back to questions.
Yes,
Thank you.
well,
Yeah.
I just figured we'd start with the police and the legal ramifications and then talk about the dangers and the safety. So go ahead and.
Okay, is that okay with everyone if she
Yeah.
makes her presentation and then we'll come back to
Your
as
Honor.
many comments as you want to make? Okay, go ahead.
Your Honor,
Yes.
before moving on, do you want me to comment on the fine portion or do you want me to do that after Chief Cribble's presentation?
Go ahead if you have that and then we'll.
Yes, so the state code prescribes that it's a simple misdemeanor punishable by a minimum fine of 250. So the Cedar Rapids provision, they state the maximum there. I don't think anybody's probably going on there and saying like, oh no, I'm gonna get an $855 fine if I light this off, because I think most people know unless we catch them, we can't do anything. But ultimately, whether or not they get that maximum penalty would be up to a judge or up to what the state prosecutor does, what the county attorney does in a plea bargain. So unless we're writing this under a city code, and I would have to look, I don't know if we're even able, I think we've left it so that it's a state code violation. So the state would be the one determining what the plea agreement would be and what fine they impose.
Okay. Chief, go ahead.
Yes, I put a few slides together to go over the fireworks, kind of do a review of the situation we've been put in over the last 5 years. The state did adopt it in 2017, and it shows what the Senate and the House votes were. Sales were allowed, and sales are allowed by that law in fixed buildings from June 1st to July 8th, and then in the December, from December 10th to January 3rd. In tents, it goes from June 13th to July 8th. And fireworks usage, according to the state, is allowable June 1st through July 8th and December 10th through January 3rd, just to give you a review of what the state law does allow. You asked for the records. Some of the council had asked for comparison with Cedar Rapids over the last 5 years. So this is what we came up with in regards to injuries and fires and how many vendors we have. So with the vendors, the first year we did have 22. The state records show that Marion had 15 that were given permits. So I'm not sure why there's a discrepancy in that number, but Cedar Rapids actually had 39 vendors that first year. So then in 2018, Cedar Rapids immediately changed it to be zoned in industrial only. and they dropped from 39 to 5, and we had 13. And then we changed it in 2019, which limited us back down to 5. Last year with COVID, we only had 3, and then this year we did have 5. And Cedar Rapids had very few. So with the injuries in 2017, if you remember, we had one very serious injury where an individual tried to shoot off a box of mortars off the top of his head. As far as I know, he does have some permanent injury with that. We did have only 2 fires though that year, but I want to remind you too, in 2016, we had a major house fire that pretty much destroyed most of the house. So that was even before they were legal. In 2017, it shows Cedar Rapids, they had 13 and 21. 2018, we never really had any major incidents. Cedar Rapids had 6 and a hand injury. 2019, really nothing major. And then in 2020, last year during COVID, we did have a serious hand injury where the individual lost his hand. Cedar Rapids had 4 fire incidents. This year, we had 5 fires, mostly grass fires, a dumpster fire, nothing really major. Cedar Rapids did have 1 garage fire. As for injuries, neither city had really any injuries. The hospitals did report 8 injuries, and 1 hand was burned that had to go down to the U. I did put together a report, and I was waiting to hear from all the fire chiefs in the state of Iowa. We always ask each other each year, you know, how many injuries and fires everyone had, and I put that together and had some computer issues today. So I'm going to email that out to the council, that report. Burlington had a very bad year. They had a fire that went to multiple structures. And they also had an incident in which an individual lost both their hands. So that was, Burlington really took it hard this year. Council Bluffs reported 3 people had lost fingers. So as for major fires, the state did pretty well. Burlington was the most serious. So that's pretty much the report for the state. Any questions?
Okay, now we'll bring it back up here for questions for either chief and for legal, whatever questions you have. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, one of the major topics we're really trying to address tonight and citizens keep talking about is why does Marion allow fireworks on the 4th of July? So if we look at all this information and all of this data, if I look at the history of Cedar Rapids, and if I look at our history, the question that really comes out of that is, does it make any difference whether fireworks are legally allowed in a city or not? My conclusion in looking at Cedar Rapids is it doesn't make any difference. The fireworks were shot off before they were legal in the state of Iowa. They're shooting a heck of a lot of them off in Cedar Rapids when they're not legal. And my conclusion is it doesn't make any difference if Marion allows them legally or not, they're going to be shot off. So my personal opinion is this is not a city issue to deal with. It is a state issue. And if people really have a major concern about that, they should contact their legislatures and talk about getting them banned statewide again. Now, that's still not going to eliminate them because they can go to Missouri, they can go to Illinois, and they're going to be buying them there. It is never going to bring the end to fireworks. So as it looks from the statistics that I'm looking at here and the reports that you put up there, I really don't see that it makes a difference that Marion allows it on one day. And to me, that probably does make it easier for those who want to shoot them off in that one day. And I think this year, at least in my neighborhood, I would have a sense that there were a lot more on the 4th of July, especially from 8 to 11. very few outside of that day, at least in our neighborhood. There were a few, but I don't think that was really a major concern. So I think people stuck within, by and large, at least in my neighborhood, within the prescribed timeline in which they could shoot them off. But even if we were to ban them, I don't think it's going to stop the problem. I don't think it's going to stop the number of calls the citizens have. I share with Grant the concerns of people about their dogs, the PTSD, all of those issues that come about because of fireworks. But whether we allow them or not legally, again, I just don't think it is going to make any difference in the amount of fireworks that are shot off and some of the minor injuries that occur.
Actually, the report I did with the state,
Yeah.
all the numbers, we had 13 out of over 20 cities that responded to me. 13 cities banned the use of fireworks.
Mhm.
Of all those cities, you'll see in the report, most of them had injuries and fires.
Yeah.
So, yes, and when I speak with the public, I got a lot of emails and complaints myself. And when I speak with them, I do urge them, you need to talk to the state legislators. We need to stop the sale of fireworks in this state.
So I'm assuming, my other question is, I think I'm correct. Has the city of Marion done everything they can to restrict as much as possible the sale of fireworks within the city? I think we did that in 2019 by restricting it only to the industrial zoned areas. And is that as far as we can take that? And obviously you've already answered the question. We cannot limit what they can sell. That's prescribed by state. And I think we've taken it as tight as we can to the industrial area. Is that also correct?
That's correct. The only option left to cities at this point in time is to restrict it by zoning. There was litigation on that matter, and every other attempt by cities to try and prevent the sale was shot down.
Yeah.
There was actually proposed legislation this year to eliminate cities' ability to even restrict it by zoning. That
Oh, really?
failed. Yes,
Okay.
so that did fail, luckily, or we'd be changing our ordinance again. But it's something that we do intend to keep our eye on. And I know that I've already been in contact, Seth contacted me about kind of broadening what we have right now. We have leaned on what the state code says with regard to where people can shoot those fireworks off. But if it's going to continue to be a thing, we didn't know at the time we adopted our ordinances how long it was actually going to continue to be a legal thing in the state, what the state would do to change it. Right now, it's been relatively steady other than some attempts to further restrict us. So Seth and I have already been in communication about highlighting some of the other restrictions that are in the state code in our parks rules so that people are very clear that they do not have permission to set off fireworks in our parks.
Okay, any council members that haven't commented yet, and then we'll come back to everyone. Go ahead.
I just want to, I concur with Steve. It's sort of like enforcement. How can you even enforce it? I would suspect the police officer shows up, right? And there's not even there anything to, so it's, I mean, the hands are tied, as Steve said. It's sort of, I mean, I get it and it really stinks, but I mean, I don't know what our options are other than, right, folks going to their state legislators and say, you know, listen, we've got to stop the sale in the city. So I just really concur. This isn't easy. It isn't easy.
Yep. I'm really surprised there weren't more fires just from standing outside in my driveway, watching embers from the neighbors' fireworks land on the neighbor's roof. Just shocked it didn't start on fire, and seeing these like parachutes that shoot up in the air and blow up, and then the parachute comes down on fire and lands in the tree or in the gutter in my neighbor's yard. It's just, anyway, my question, so Chief Kitzmiller, so an officer pulls up and sees that people have been shooting off fireworks, but they don't actually see one go off. So they pull up, they're not physically setting anything off, but they see a line of things in the driveway that have been set off. They can't do anything with no ticket, correct? Because they didn't see them actually set it off.
Correct, but that's where we could apply
Disorderly
that
house.
disorderly house.
Okay, so
I
that's
believe.
my thought, is maybe we need to stiffen that up where if they pull up and see a line of fireworks, it's June 31st. Obviously, they've been setting off fireworks because they're all over the yard. maybe we need to start doing that disorderly house and take it to the property owner, even if it wasn't the property owner that's setting them off, but if they're being allowed
their
on their
property,
property
it's-
to be set off when it's not legal, then we need to start, in my mind, changing the ordinance or enforcing that or putting a different penalty on that to make it not happen outside of the fourth. Because I think I go back and forth with, do we allow it on the fourth for a few hours? Do we don't? And I keep going back to yes, just for what we have in place, I think is good, because there are the people that do want to, set off the fireworks, and we're giving that time so others know that this is when it's going to happen. So I would hope we could put some teeth into that disorderly house ordinance that we have.
Renee?
Thanks. So I have a few things. The first is that I agree with Steve and Colette's point about should be a state issue. I mean, just, going city to city doesn't make a lot of sense, but unfortunately that's what we're stuck with. So I would think that we should add this, if it's not already on our legislative priorities that we talk about, we're going to Des Moines and things we're concerned about, because we have this discussion every year. I felt like we got a lot more complaints than we normally did. I don't know why, but I felt like we had a lot this year. But, I totally agree, just the foundational, like what Grant said, I think we need to preserve the right for people. While we can, I think we should, unless the state comes in and just, makes a blanket code that's easier for everyone to follow. I like the point of stiffening penalties, because I really like to stick it to people who are breaking the rule, but I don't want to put to put the police in that position with everything else they're dealing with. And proving it seems very difficult. So we're in this quandary. So I guess the 2 cents I would like to add is, I think that this should be a question on the citizen survey. I think that could help drive a future, it could help inform future council of decision to make, because we didn't get any letters from anybody who was like, hey, thanks for letting us set off fireworks. But I bet you those people outnumber the complainers, right? They're not thinking about it the day after they got to do what they wanted to. So I think that people would prefer to do it, or prefer for that right to be there rather than have it taken away majority wise. I could be wrong, but we could certainly put it to the public and find out. I have to medicate my dog. I've never had to before, but I have a dog now that I have to. So I completely get it. I chose to stay home that night. Everybody has to do what they have to do. But even with that, I still think that people should have the right. I think one thing that we should consider, if this council is considering flipping or changing, I don't mean it in a negative way, but just changing what happens with fireworks going forward, that we should put it out there to people and tell them city council is considering removing, the ability to set off fireworks because of all of the rule breakers, if you will. And maybe that could help. Maybe that would deter some people who, 3 days before wouldn't set it off because they would just wait and they're worried about losing the right altogether. I don't know. I know that strategy works with certain things. And when I was a teacher, I would use it sometimes to deter bad behavior. Anyway, I'm not going to go down that road, but I feel like that we should put it out there. I hope that the press runs a story that this is a topic so that we hear from the people that want to preserve the right. Because I think that is the majority. And that's where I fall, despite the dangers, which you're doing your job. I totally get where you're coming from. We need to see and hear these things. But ultimately, unless the state makes a complete ban, I would like to keep that right here in Marion. I just hope that the rule breakers don't ruin it for the majority who want to celebrate.
I have a little bit different perspective on it. Well, first of all, I think that we probably got more. Well, it was probably more intense this year during the time that it was legal. It seemed like it was more intense than any other year. The first year, it was kind of just a free for all and everybody was excited about it. And it was during that entire time that it was legal, it was pretty bad. I think outside of this year, outside of the permissible time, I don't think it was as bad, but during the time that it was permitted, it was very intense. I mean, that could be because we didn't have the organized fireworks this year. It could be because, you know, the year people have had and they were just eager to celebrate. I don't know. I get people that people should have a right to celebrate. But, you know, when you live in a community, your rights only go so far as, you know, to impacting other people. We have driving laws. We have all sorts of laws that limit what we do so that we don't impact other people as we exercise our freedoms. And I think it's in an urban situation, it's almost impossible to use this type of fireworks without impacting your neighbor. It's impossible. I get that people want to celebrate, you know. What would be interesting to find out is, and I don't know how you do that, but other cities that have banned it, where it's banned, and I know that people are still getting, they did before the change in state code and will always use fireworks. But what would be interesting to find out is how many of the large fireworks displays they're getting. People have always set off random fireworks, you know, and I don't think that's the issue. I think it's the 30-40 minute fireworks display, the professional displays that neighborhoods are putting on. That's what's like, it's going on unimpeded for a half hour or more. You know, someone is investing a lot of money and doing a big show for their neighborhood. I get that that's fun and, you know, but I think that's where a lot of the complaining is. It's just like, it's not unending for a half hour or 40 minutes or more. I wonder if a ban would take care of that issue. You're still gonna have the fireworks being shot off here and there. But I wonder if it would take care of that issue of someone within their rights putting on a big display, a big show for the neighborhood. I just want people to think about that. What, you know, and I don't know how you would gauge that in other cities. Are they still getting those big shows and displays? I agree with what Renee said. I think there are probably as many or more people out there who want that ability and want that right. So, you know, I'm not here to, you know, tell people that they can't have fun, but again, I wish people were a little more considerate of their neighbors, and then, you know, and it wouldn't be such an issue. I have received all of the emails like everyone else and all the phone calls, and you know, it is at the heart of it, it is a state issue, and the state put us in this situation. The state legislature put us in this situation where we have to deal with this, but you know, our hands are sort of tied because we can't dictate what types of fireworks are sold or if they're sold at all. So if people are going to buy them, they're going to find a way to use them somehow. So it's not an easy situation. That's my thoughts on it. Randy had a second comment.
I have no further questions.
Yes. Go ahead.
I have a question. I saw a few times on social media, people mentioning how much the city benefits financially from the sale of fireworks. How much does the city actually make? I mean, obviously there's the sales tax.
Yeah, the local option sales tax would be the only thing that would potentially come back to the city on the sale of fireworks.
So we don't know for sure how much.
The permit that's not ours, it's the state's.
No, it goes to the state.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so technically the city, other than the 1% local option sales tax, does not make anything off of the sale of fireworks.
No, and when you consider what we have to invest in inspecting the temporary sites, making sure they're safe, making visits back, it is a significant money loser for the city.
Thank you. It'd be good to let people know that when we hear that again or see that again.
Other comments? So we're having this discussion to determine if there's a decision to be made at some point, or what's?
I don't know, sir. I think we were just asked to provide statistics. You guys wanted to talk about to
Sure.
see if there was a difference between when Cedar Rapids banned, to see what those numbers look like
Yeah.
and what ours look like. I think that was the point of
In
that.
all my responses to people, I always point to the fact that Cedar Rapids had over 1,100 calls, even though it's banned there, because they, but people say that people are coming from Cedar Rapids to Marion to do their fireworks. They're buying them and then coming over here to do them, to discharge them legally.
Yeah.
Who knows, but.
I don't think we've seen, I've got no evidence of that for or against. I would think if they're buying them in Cedar Rapids, they're probably shooting them in their driveways.
That's part of the law. You have to do it on your own property
Right,
or have the permission of the property owner.
that's a good point.
And I guess I would note there were a couple of proposals, I think, that came up from different council members, but I would suggest perhaps that since Chief Crable has a more detailed report about what it looks like for the environment across the state, that after the council has a chance to take a look at that, if you do want to follow up, like revisiting fines, bolstering the disorderly house ordinance, that would just come from the council to direct legal or the public safety departments to start working on that as a project. Since I'm assuming that we probably can't do what I think Councilman Brandt stumbled across, which is to make them legal on June 31st. That might solve the entire problem.
I would just add,
Say 31st. Oh, geez. I just threw in data. I didn't realize.
but it is important, I think, for the public to know that
June
this is
30th.
not an easy decision, and that there are as many or more people in the community who enjoy having that ability. It's not an easy decision for us to make. I had one resident tell me to put my big boy pants on and just ban them. I mean, it's not that easy of a decision. So I just hope that residents appreciate that. And yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just wait, one more comment. I think as we do that follow-up report from our chiefs, if there are some recommendations that you have as far as the fines, as far as tougher enforcement, I think there's probably, at least it seems to me up here, a pretty decent consensus that there would be support for that aspect. So if there is something there that you think will help curb some of this outside of the day that's approved, I would certainly support that as well. So if you have any ideas or recommendations, please include that in your report.
Okay. No further comments or questions? All right. Next discussion on the agenda is regarding amending the Marion Code of Ordinances regarding extended vacancies of the city manager's position. Who's leading this one? City attorney?
Yes,
Yes,
Your Honor.
okay.
I had asked for this to be on the agenda after I had received several questions regarding what our city manager's succession plan is. And I've spoken to different staff and spoken with you. I've spoken with our current city manager. I've looked at what we've done historically. Councilman Harper reached out to me after I sent out the memo with some questions. And I think that a discussion about what the concerns are with regard to if we have an acting manager serving as interim and the time frame that it could take to fill that position, because that was a recurring theme that came up for me was short-term versus long-term, and then how we want to deal with this in the future so we don't have the same kind of confusion about what our process is. So there were kind of two things that came across as being really important. And one was, is interim different than acting? And if so, how? And the biggest difference there is that for an acting city manager, we believe that our city manager is coming back. We believe that they're on vacation or they are ill or whatever. That is not necessarily a short term. So that seems like it would be a distinction. We would expect that our city manager would go on vacation and come back in a relatively short amount of time. But if there's an illness or an accident, there's no guarantee for that. Or if they take a vacation and decide to never come home, I don't know if it was a vacation in the middle of winter, any of us would blame them. But there are situations where it could seem like a temporary leave and become a permanent separation. So the other difference then, obviously with interim, is when we believe that we have to fill that position with someone else permanently. But the actual duties that they're doing are primarily the same. The only difference would be that if we have a long-term acting and a long-term interim, they might have some different duties that short-term interim or short-term acting would be. So one thing that came up with that concern is with Tom and Deb being our current designees, I'll use them as an example. If we have a long vacancy here while we're looking for lawns replacement, and our fire chief is our deputy manager or our city manager pro tem, Tom's unavailable. What happens if Tom decides to leave and then now we have our fire chief acting as city manager and we have an emergency situation? Then we have kind of an issue there. The other thing is that while Tom might be enjoying some of his new duties in the short term, after a while, he might kind of miss what he gets to do on a daily basis right now. And so one thing that came up in my conversation with Councilmember Harper was having built into this something that would give us kind of a review process after a certain amount of time that would say, is this working? And it may not be a reflection on whoever the city manager designees are at that time. It may simply be that whoever is in that spot, in the last time we had a vacancy, it was the police chief. There may be a good reason why we can't have our police chief acting as city manager for a year. They might need to be focused on the police department, depending on what's happening in our city. And so building in a review period after a certain amount of time would give both council a chance to say, you know, here's what's working, here's what's not with this situation. It would also give those designees a chance to say, this has been great, but I need to go back to my real job now. And I think having that built in would give maybe some relief to some of the concerns that people have currently. Additionally, we could do a provision that would specify a different process if it was going to be interim, or we could say the acting manager shall also serve as interim manager. And so those are kind of the ideas that I had for changing this provision in there, because even with an acting city manager, we may want to put a time frame to give a review. So if our next city manager would become ill or injured and can't come back to work for 6 months, what do we do in that meantime? Do we want to have the acting manager fill in for a long period of time?
Okay. So questions? Go ahead.
Thank you. So I'm looking at this in two different lights. One is our current situation, but in the future, we would have a deputy city manager that would void all of this, and we would move to a different platform because then your succession plan is a lot different. I agree with the same concerns that the other council members that you had pointed out as to where we are, especially in these high demand positions that these individuals are in right now at this particular moment, and you know where they come into play. I would support that, you know, frequent reviews by the city council, definitely with the mayor. Those are obviously leadership roles that should probably be acting on in a little bit different capacity as we kind of hand the baton off if we find ourselves with this. But I share those same sentiments and concerns, and we should probably have that ironed out. But I know as well too, you know, there's probably some things that it's going to take a collection of a lot of input to keep these things rolling in that absence.
Okay.
Well, first, I want to congratulate Kara for having a high degree of precision regarding our conversation. And that worries me as I think going forward. However, the emphasis that I expressed to her was continuity of operations. Is really kind of where my thinking was centering. And as she related, we can have a change of conditions, whether it is at the individual level and their respective department that they're responsible for, change of conditions in that arena, or it could be the total complement of challenges being faced by the city, where through periodic review of status and the like, we would then maybe want to have a change of that interim or leadership in order to respond to those changing conditions. So again, it's from a continuity of operations and making the right decisions as conditions are altering in front of us. So I guess what would be our next steps on this, I think.
The next step would be to essentially give me some direction on either providing you some different proposals, or if there were maybe a council member or two that wanted to step in and work with me on this, where I could send some drafts that we could then bring back to council. I think that would be the two main options that we could do here. Or you could tell me, forget it, we're going to build this into the deputy city manager and we don't need to worry about it. It's really up to what council would like to do.
Go ahead.
So right now we're thinking in terms of city manager and leadership team filling a void. We could have a similar situation for whatever is assigned to the deputy city manager. They have their remit that they're responsible for, and they could also then experience a short-term or long-term extended absence. We have the same problem. And it, quite honestly, I think we have to think more universally about this, again, from the standpoint of continuity of operations. How do you fill in critical vacancies, irrespective of what layer they're in? So we have the same challenge in my view, even when we have a deputy on board.
So what's the direction for Kara?
Well, in my view, I think, Kara, for you to develop perhaps a couple of options at which this could be addressed, and maybe develop those, you know, sort of as, here are the critical points that would be incorporated into a more robust policy document. Start simple, let us react to that, provide input to that. So we develop a framework, A, B, C, and then from that, with that collective input and maybe a stated preference of A, B, or C by the council, then go do the work for a more robust draft policy. In other words, set the framework, then draft from that. That would be my recommendation.
Renee, go ahead.
I think that sounds great. I do think if we're already having this amount of discussion, we probably do need to have something more formal in the books for the future. I guess the only question I really have is, not to put Deb on the spot, but at some point Deb's going to want to retire, right? If this takes a long time. So do we have a third? And so thinking about it in terms of like the United States, and if the president falls, you're the vice president and you've got the speaker. Are we doing this by position or longevity and position in terms of familiarity? And nobody has to have an answer right now, but these are probably some kinks that could be worked out since we're starting to go down this road, so that it never looks at a personality or makes anyone feel like that's the case, but it's a very systematic, formulaic, council approved process that's been thought out and all of that. So it's my 2 cents.
At this point in time, we do, I believe, have a third. And I think that if Tom and Deb are both unavailable or incapacitated, our mayor is who is responsible.
Oh, you've got lots of time.
Oh, yeah, I've got plenty of time.
You can run.
Sure. Who needs to earn a living? Okay. All right. Any other questions? Comments? Okay, so is that enough direction, Kara? Okay, good. Okay, thank you for the good discussion on both those items. Next is our public forum, which is a time set aside for any comments from members of the public on any topic. Anyone here to address the council? Yes, former council member Joe Spinks and former Mayor Pro Tem. Yes, for lots of years.
Yeah, first off, where you were talking about knowing what to do, in Lon's case, if he went on vacation and you wondered if he was coming back, you check the wine cellar and the Mustang. If they're gone, he's gone. So anyway. In that order, probably too. But anyway,
Go ahead, Joe.
Mayor, Council, thank you for letting me come forward tonight. What I wanted to talk about was Lon and his many years of service and all the things that he's done for the city. I couldn't let him go without congratulating him on all the work that he's done. And he is a master. I relayed this to him at the open house the other day, is that he is a master at not doing the eye roll when Joe asked him some stupid question. So, and in fact, he said that Iowa State has a course in non-eye rolling from city managers. They gotta have that because he's a master at it. But but what I really wanted to say is that, you know, I worked with Lon for 10 years and he took a person that almost knew nothing about city management and whatever. And, you know, he taught me a lot of things about it. And I couldn't let him get away without thanking him for the years of service and the time that I was on the city council. And he's probably the most professional, knowledgeable, and just a plain out smart person, because he always was able to give an answer, or give an answer. He knew where to get the answer from. And so I wish him the best in his new position. And I say Godspeed to you and your family, Lon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks, Joe, for taking the time to come and say that. We'll move on to council comments. We'll start with Grant.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Okay.
I just have three things, so I'll continue on with Joe. I just wish Lon the best of luck. And although I didn't have 10 years under him, in the 2 years I have, I've learned a whole lot. Number one, he's really smart. So really appreciate that and wish him the best of luck. Second, Marion baseball team headed back to state. So how excited are we for that? Yeah. I think it's the Marion Wolves now, which is kind of cool. I think so, isn't it? Anyway. And lastly, tomorrow at 5 o'clock, because right, nobody has anything to do at 5 o'clock on a Friday when it's 90 degrees outside, we have our equity task force meeting where we will be working with a consultant on some really important work. So if folks are interested to come in and take a listen, I invite you to come in at 5 o'clock tomorrow, Friday, to spend some time with us. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Renee.
Just as a reminder, Sunday will be the start of RAGBRAI for 2021. So to all those that are going to be participating on that, safe travels across our great state of Iowa, and wish everyone the best of the week. Thanks.
Okay, for my part, I want to start by thanking our city staff who have been working so hard on all these projects going on all around town. I know it's causing a little inconvenience that all the detours and the having to adjust our daily routes. But I would just encourage people to be patient and to consider, you know, what the alternative is. You know, would we want a city that it's not keeping up with the infrastructure, or not taking care of our intersections, or not improving our uptown? I think we're lucky that we have those opportunities as a city to continue improving and to create better quality of life, and to not let the growth become a impediment for us, that we're trying to keep up with all the infrastructure and all the needs. I think we're all going to be pleased with the end results. And I want to thank the city staff for all their hard work. I want to thank especially also Uptown Main Street Director Brooke Prouty and Amber Bissinger, our marketing manager, who have been working really hard to get out information, to share what's going on, to keep everyone informed. I went to a meeting this morning that they had for the building owners, along with members of the engineering staff, to keep up that communication with people so they know what's going on, what to expect, what the timelines are, to answer their questions. I think that the communication has been phenomenal. When you look on social media, on our city webpage, everything, the communication has been just terrific. So look forward to the end results through all of these projects. You know, we say that we're a city that reaches higher and achieves more. Well, here we're doing it, and would appreciate everyone's patience and encourage everyone to keep a positive attitude about it. I too want to add my thank yous to Lon. Lon, I think you can be very proud of the impact you've had here. I think you can feel really good about the difference you've made in your 14 years, the amount of progress that the city made while you were here, that you were a part of, along with lots of other leaders and decision makers. But you were the guy that figured out how to get it done and help the city progress in tremendous ways. And I think you can feel really good about that. And we're really, on behalf of the residents of Marion, I want to thank you. I appreciate everything you've done. Wish you and your family the very best in your next role and in your new location in the Northwest. So with that, I appreciate everyone's time tonight, and meeting's adjourned. We'll see you next time.